Hello, back with another video. And today we are going to take a look at my gaming setup, which it's actually been quite a while since I've shown this off. It hasn't really changed all that much, but I figured, hey, it's been a while since I did my last one, so let's show it off how it is today as of recording this video. So obviously I still have the same Vizio 4K smart TV, still works great. And then I did get a new soundbar because the previous one that I had died unexpectedly. So I just got one of these basic Vizio soundbars and it works pretty well. Over here we have my Nintendo Switch travel case, as well as my Pro controller and the Joy-Con grip thingy. And then back here, I have my Nintendo Switch. So I haven't done a video on this yet, but I did get myself a Nintendo Switch OLED version about a year ago or so. I got a pretty decent Christmas bonus at work, and so I decided to treat myself and got myself a Switch OLED, and it is quite nice. I really enjoy it. Here's where my wife's PS4 used to be. She has since sold it because she upgraded to a gaming laptop, so there's obviously nothing here anymore. Not entirely sure what I'm going to do with that space, but we'll see. Down here we have my Xbox One S, still use it quite a lot to this day. Plays 4K Blu-rays perfectly, which is one of the main uses that I have of this thing. And surprisingly, I've been finding myself playing it more often because games are getting like stupidly cheap for this thing. So yeah, I've been like picking up new games left and right for this thing just because they're just so cheap. I'd like to eventually upgrade to a Series X once that starts to come down in price a little bit, because while yes, I can afford it, there's not really much that is piquing my interest on Series X, and my Xbox One S works perfectly fine for what I use it for anyway. So, yeah, I'm just going to keep using it for as long as I can. And then once I upgrade to a Series X, I'll probably end up getting rid of this because, well, the Series X can play Xbox One games. And here we have my PlayStation 3. Still use this thing a lot to this day. Absolutely love it. Then we have the Xbox 360. Also use this thing a lot to this day. We finally got rid of our Apple airport router. We got one of these Eero routers. I think it's actually made by Amazon. And compared to that Apple Wi-Fi router, this thing is way better. We had so many issues with that Apple router, and it was on its way out. So I'm really glad we finally made an upgrade. And then I have myself a Nintendo Wii. So I actually originally had a Wii Mini in here. I since got rid of that and just bought myself a regular Wii because it's actually easier to mod compared to the Wii Mini. And I haven't used this a whole lot. I just haven't really had a whole lot of time to tinker around with it. I'm still trying to figure out how to play Wii games off of a flash drive. And I know that there is a way to do it. I just haven't had time to basically look into it. Although I was able to load up like the Homebrew channel, as well as some miscellaneous WiiWare games that I used to play when I was a kid. And wow, the memories, all the memories. Did you ever play WiiWare? I certainly did. And then here we have my secondary gaming setup, which has drastically changed since the last time you saw it. I actually got myself a new desk, these L-shaped ones, because I have one at work and I absolutely love it, and I really wanted one for home. So I ended up buying myself one, and I absolutely love it. It was a worthy investment. This way I have plenty of space for my gaming setup, as well as some desk space to basically use my laptop or work on computer shit and whatnot. I love it. So we still have the same 24-inch Vizio Smart TV. It's 1080p and still works great to this day. I can't remember if I mentioned in my last gaming setup video, but this Vizio Smart TV model in particular, it has really bad like image ghosting, which is the only thing that I really hate about it. And plus, it only has one HDMI port, so I gotta use a whole bunch of HDMI switchers. But other than that, it works perfectly fine. And once this thing quits working, I'll get a better one. Over here, we have my Wii U. Still use it a lot to this day. Absolutely love this thing. Over here, we have my 5-port HDMI switcher. Works pretty well. And also comes with a remote. That's pretty nice. We have a little monitor stand. I absolutely love this thing. It's adjustable, and the fact that I can actually like have room to put miscellaneous stuff here as well as stuff underneath of it, it's really, really nice. I really like it. And then we've got my one and only amiibo. This is the Smash Bros. Mario amiibo. I've had this since Smash Bros. For Wii U first came out, and I don't think I have bought any amiibo since then. I don't know. Never really had an interest. We have a Wii U Pro controller, my Raspberry Pi 4, which I definitely need to do a video on this thing because I've had this thing for quite a while, and honestly, I haven't really been using it much recently. I do need to get back into using it because I really want to do some future videos with this thing, so stay tuned. We have my Nintendo GameCube. Absolutely love this thing. This was my first home console that I ever had growing up, and yeah, absolutely love this thing. Plus, I actually got an HDMI adapter for this thing. So I want to say this is by Retrobit. So basically, this is a HDMI adapter that converts the component video out on the GameCube to HDMI. And it works really, really well, surprisingly. And also comes with a little remote. That's pretty cool. We have my original Xbox. Still use this thing a lot to this day. Love this thing. Plus, games are still decently cheap for it. Down here we have my PS4. Absolutely love this thing to this day. Still play it a lot. I've actually been playing a lot of the PSVR titles on this thing because since PSVR 2 is out, games are getting cheaper for the original PSVR. And yeah, PS4 still has a lot of life left in it, even though it's, 10 years old as of 2023. There isn't quite enough that is pushing me to upgrade to a PS5 quite yet. But I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do with my PS4. When I finally upgrade, I might end up keeping it in here as like a secondary setup for like my PSVR stuff. Because yeah, you can use PSVR 1 on PS5. It's just kind of cumbersome to set up with all the cables and whatnot. So since I already have everything set up in here, I might end up just keeping this here just to play PSVR titles. I'm not entirely sure yet. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. Over here we have a Canon printer and scanner. Rarely ever use this thing, but it's always nice to have when I need it. And then we also have our little drawers with lots and lots of junk. And here we've got some miscellaneous cables, adapters, some external DVD drives. I think there's also an external Blu-ray drive in here too. But yeah, a bunch of miscellaneous stuff in here. It's not organized at all. In the second drawer, we have my GameCube, PS2, and Xbox controllers. Again, it's It's an absolute mess. Nothing's really organized in here, but whatever. It works. And then on the bottom drawer, we have more miscellaneous stuff. We got a multi-tap for PS2. We've got my PSVR controllers, the charger for it. We've got oddly enough, an original Xbox microphone for some reason. Not entirely sure why I have that. And then we've got a vertical stand for my PS2. Cable management is definitely not the best, but I'd say it gets the job done for the most part. There's really so much that you can do with this many cables, so try not to make fun of me too much. Down here we have a component video switcher. This is where my PS2, Xbox, and also a component cable for my PSP is hooked up to. It works well enough. I'd like to eventually upgrade all my consoles to be using HDMI because less and less TVs are capable of using component video. This is the only TV that I have that actually has component video hookups because that 4K TV in my living room only has composite. It does not have a component at all. So that is kind of why I would like to eventually have everything using HDMI, because when I eventually upgrade to a new TV, I highly doubt it's going to have component video. We also have a second HDMI switcher. This is directly hooked up to my TV, and then this is used for my PS4, and then it's also used for that first HDMI switcher up here. Down here is my Ultimate Windows XP gaming PC. Although you will notice it looks a little different last time you saw it, because I upgraded. So I originally had a Compaq Presario. I can't remember what model it was, but it originally was a Windows XP Media Center Edition PC from around like 2006, and it had a single-core AMD processor in it. It worked well enough for the time that I used it. I had it for a few years, and it served me well, although for later Windows XP games, it just wasn't quite cutting it. So I ended up upgrading to a Dell Vostro 220. This has a Core 2 Duo in it, and I gotta say, for those later Windows XP games, things just run so much better on this thing. It is such a great upgrade. Right here we have my main gaming PC. This is a Lenovo Idea Center, and it pretty much runs almost every game that I play on this thing perfectly fine. It's got 16 gigs of RAM. It's got a 500 gigabyte SSD, 1 terabyte hard drive. It's got a 7th gen Core i5. I think it's a 7600. And then it also has a GTX 1060, 6 gig. And it works pretty well, all things considered, especially due to its age. I think this thing was from like 2017, and most games that I play on PC, which aren't really a whole lot, but the ones that I do, they run perfectly fine on this thing. I don't need a fancy PC that can do 4K 60 FPS. I'm perfectly fine with 1080p 60 FPS or a little less than that. We have another set of drawers filled with miscellaneous junk. We've got cables, my PSP, my 3DS, other miscellaneous adapters and whatnot. Again, it's not really organized. On the second one, we have more junk. Again, it's also not really organized. We have a microphone for when I do voiceover work and whatnot. I also have a, I think it's from PDP, I want to say. Yep, PDP Gaming. This is a third-party Xbox wired controller that I use for my PC. We also have a tripod for my phone. We've got a couple of hard drive to USB adapters, an external USB hard drive, and that's pretty much it. And in the bottom drawer, I have all my PC games, as well as a random Apple USB super drive. for some reason. But yeah, this is where I keep all of my disc, or at least most of my disc-based PC games. Most of my PC games and software are in these jewel cases, so they store pretty well in here. And then I've got a couple of bigger box PC games like this PopCaps one. I got Battlefield 2, PopCap Ultimate Game Collection. I also got Unreal Tournament 2004 down here, and of course can't forget Unreal Tournament 3. Love that game. And then I also have various spindles of I have some various spindles of blank discs. Yes, I am a person that still has blank DVDs and CDs around because, well, you never know. They're nice to have. Moving to the left of my gaming setup, we have my secondary monitor. Yes, I got a dual monitor setup. Check that out. It's really, really nice. I have a dual monitor setup at work, and of course I just had to have the same setup at home, and I'm really glad I did, because it's really, really nice to basically have a TV for all this stuff, and then if I want to play around with my computer stuff, I can just use this monitor right here instead of reaching all the way back here and trying to like unplug stuff and then plug new stuff in. It's not very user-friendly for sure. I do not like it. So that's why I have a secondary monitor. I think this is a 19-inch monitor. It's from Scepter. I think the resolution is 900p. It's not anything fancy, but for a secondary monitor, it works perfectly fine. And then below it, I have my PS2. Next to the PS2, I have some extra cables that I use for connecting all of my other computer stuff when I want to play around with it. These hook up to this secondary monitor, so it's nice to just have these here just ready to go whenever I need them. Over here we have a little LED lamp which also has a phone wireless charger built in, which is actually pretty nice. I use this thing a lot. Moving on to my closet, this is where I have all the rest of my stuff. And it's not a pretty sight, to say the least, but it could be worse. So in here I have all of my games, my computers that I play around with, and just other miscellaneous stuff that is nice to just be kept away so that it's not taking up space. So on the top here we've got my testing bench, we've got a Mac Mini, we've got some of my jewel cases for my music CDs, which I actually have a pretty decent collection of music CDs. We've got the Dell Optiplex FX 160. We've got a, I think it's a PowerBook G4, or maybe PowerBook, no, it might be like a MacBook G4. I don't know exactly what it's called, but I haven't done a video on this quite yet, but I've had this thing for a while because it's nice to have an older Mac to be running older Mac software on, because I still have yet to figure out how to run PowerPC Macintosh applications on newer Macs. Over here we have my PSVR headset. Down here we've got my Ultimate Windows 98 gaming PC. It's in a different case last time that you saw it. It was originally in a older Dell Inspiron case, and I ended up replacing that with this full ATX gateway case. It is very, very heavy and not easy to store, but it is definitely nice to have a bigger case so that I can have more room for playing around with, you know, more drives and more hardware.